You gotta love Joe Biden's latest today. It's dreamy. It's spectacular. I couldn't even do this from home. I had to be in my favorite cigar lounge, having myself a very, very good cigar. This from West Tampa Tobacco right here. Guys, welcome to the show. It is presented, as it always is, by Americans for Prosperity, AmericansForProsperity.org. I needed a little help in this one, so I brought in Fingers Malloy right there, my co-host at Eat, Drink, Smoke. You hear him on the air, Wham Talk 1600 in Michigan, and it's Joe Biden having this conversation about junk fees. Joe Biden's a real issue with airlines and others that charge unnecessary fees for this, that, or whatever. First, since when does he know what an unnecessary fee is? I assume the unnecessary fee, Fingers Malloy, was when Hunter Biden was charging Burisma. I'm pretty sure
there it is.
That was the unnecessary fee. That no one needed to do that. No one needed Hunter Biden to advise them. His fine word Amtrak, of course, leading him to be an expert in oil and energy in Ukraine. But he's bothered by what it costs to be on a plane. Now, just be clear, a lot of us are bothered by what it costs to be on a plane. Fingers on our show, on Eat, Drink, Smoke, EatDrinkSmokeShow.com, we discuss this all the time. That airline price, supply chain in general, prices in general. But you're a guy who likes a little bit of Vegas, right? By the way, I'm looking at Fingers. He's right there. You're a guy who likes Vegas. You like to go to Vegas. And you find Vegas to be expensive as hell these days.
It has gotten to the point where, just like everyone else is experiencing when it comes to trying to get a flight anywhere, the prices have gone up. It had nothing to do with these fees he's talking about. It's just that's the way between the amount of flights that were cut back, and the airline industry was not prepared for the uptick in travel. I mean, there were some airline experts who thought that it would take 2-3 years for the industry to fully recover, so they cut back on flights. They had these massive layoffs and buyouts, but the industry came back in a big way. People were tired of not traveling, and so you had a bunch of customers and yet not enough flights to handle.
And definitely not enough flight crews. Does that have anything to do with the fees? No, it has to do with supply and demand, and it is very frustrating if you are trying to travel, especially if you have a family, to be able to afford a flight today. I mean, we're here in Indianapolis. There was a time, I don't think, up until the pandemic, I never paid anything more than $250 round trip to go to Vegas, direct flights. And you and I just went to the Premium Cigar Association back in July, and those flights were, the price was incredible. Yeah.
Plus, yeah.
But here's the thing, the overall takeaway from this that I think needs to be brought up. When we do Eat, Drink, Smoke, we like to talk about stories that people are talking about in the cigar lounge. People are talking about inflation, supply chain issues. Who is bringing up the unnecessary fees that airlines are charging?
But this is where it gets nuttier, because in the first he starts with this really, watch it for yourself,
and they want to know, what are we doing? And there's a lot going on that we're doing, and it adds up. And what I'm going to be coming back to you with is an example. I don't know if I'm going to do it from a podium or a release. But take an average family who's going to go visit their mother or father for Thanksgiving. What's the charge? Or they're going to come home from school? I mean, there's a lot of money. These are billions of dollars. It doesn't add up to billions for the individual, but adds up to $200, $300, $400 for average families.
I'm sorry. The $400, the school. It's classic Biden in this case. But if he's talking about it's hard to fly places, yes, he's to blame because inflation is to blame. $1.9 trillion in the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act, which does not reduce anything at all and in any way. He won't take any responsibility, and he's doing the same thing to airlines that he was doing to oil and gas companies. You need to lower your price at the pump. If Trump did this, I always like to play the game, right? It's so important to play. If Trump did it, what would be the response? And the response would be, he's a bully. He's an authoritarian. Look what he's doing to these companies. This is unpresidential. Why is this all of a sudden the standard operating procedure? Fingers point. Why is he allowed to get away with this?
You hit the nail on the head. It's because you've got a media that.
To be honest, I'll take it a step further when it comes to that. I think if this were Trump, the conversation would be, listen to how out of touch the president is right now. He's talking about families traveling. Meanwhile, eggs are double the price of what they are.
Families aren't able to afford groceries. They're worried over the winter whether they're going to be able to heat their homes. They're talking about vacations right now. Many families are lucky to be able to afford a vacation. And yet the president is up there using valuable time with the media, railing on the airline industry about their products. Meanwhile, people are struggling to be able to heat their homes and feed their families.
And then he goes to part two. Because why in the world would you have any conversation if you can't just interject racism?
Decision. Some airlines, if you want 6 more inches between you and the seat in front, you pay more money. But you don't know it until you purchase your ticket. Look, folks, these are junk fees. They're unfair and they hit marginalized Americans the hardest, especially low-income folks and people of color. They benefit big corporations, not consumers.
I want to make sure that I'm clear with everybody. Airline fees suck. You pay for the additional bag, you pay for the extra seat, you pay for a drink, no one gives you any warm nuts anymore. It's terrible. They're not racist. You can say a lot of things in a lot of ways. You cannot say that the fees are racist. Everything, everywhere, every conversation, every single day. We have forgotten what actual bigotry is, it seems, unless, of course, it's Kanye. We've forgotten what it actually is because we're throwing it at everything, and it doesn't have to be this way. Either Biden thinks that he's having this strong economic conversation that's going to help Democrats in the midterms, or he thinks he's going to remind everybody about how unfair America is, and it's going to help Democrats in the midterms. And fingers, neither one of those things are true.
No, they aren't. And are we going to pretend that these fees are new? They just popped up during the pandemic and post-pandemic. We've been nickel and dimed by airlines for years. I mean, there was a time you know, what, 10, 15 years ago, you bought your ticket. That was it. Now you pay for your luggage, like you said. You pay for your seat assignment.
He's making an argument. He's saying that you don't know what is your fee until you've already paid. I know what my fee is throughout, and I take a look at the end result. I'm like, wait a second, that number's too high or too low. Why is it all of a sudden that now that's a problem? Are people not smart enough to figure out that these fees add up?
I think that what you're seeing is, and I can't say that I blame the White House when it comes to this. They have to figure out ways to bring their base to the polls for the midterms. They can't talk about the economy. They can't talk about their foreign policy messaging. They've got to come up with
things that they believe will drive people to the polls, whether it's income inequality, whether it's racial issues, whether it's other social issues. They have to figure out a way to motivate their base, which seems very unmotivated at this point, to go to the polls. Because what are you going to do, Tony? You're going to talk about how great the economy is right now if you're in the White House? Of course not. You can't. Inflation's out of control. The supply chain issues are starting to get a little bit better, but not where it should be. We
talked briefly on Eat, Drink, Smoke about how, oilprice.com is reporting that we're starting to see diesel shortages around the country.
That's a giant one for the idea of what's going to cost to be engaged in trucking. And then, of course, the lack of trucking that'll take place because they can't get as many goods to the places because they just don't have the gas.
So if you want to be Johnny Good News at the White House trying to persuade independents to vote Democrat, what can you do? What good news is there out there for Democrats that will drive not only their base to the polls, but independents to the polls and vote Democrat? You got to come up with these issues like this to try to figure out a way to get your base to show up in November.
But
the good news is Joe Biden,
being a man of the people as he is, don't you know, he feels your pain.
So anyway, I'm optimistic. It's going to take some time, and I appreciate the frustration of the American people.
It's Bill Clinton all over again. Thanks a lot, everybody. Sorry you're in such a pickle. And then he just goes off. It's like, okay, which way do I walk? Which way do I go? Someone lead me to the ice cream. And that's all there is to it. And by the way, someone's leading him to the ice cream. This so smacks of desperation. But it's desperation utilizing the tools that have turned people off from the political left. They're a party of elitists. They're not with the working class. That absolutely changed. Everybody there has some kind of college degree, a degree that provides a value, by the way, that somehow proves the members of the club, and they look down upon the people who actually work with their hands for a living. And then everything is made to be somehow in this intersectionality conversation, racism conversation, bigotry conversation, because that way they can claim some upper hand and try and guilt you into what? You didn't do anything about airline fees. It's not your fault. And it's affecting you regardless of your skin color, like it's affecting anybody else regardless of their skin color. And so is gas prices, so is bread prices, so is egg prices, everything, fingers, that you've been engaging in.
Well, yeah, and it goes back to what you said earlier about it's trying to relive the
feel your pain moment, but it's not nearly as catchy or as articulate. It is an improvement over a couple of weeks ago where he's sitting back eating butter pecan ice cream, telling everyone that the economy is just fine. But at the end of the day,
we all know it's not just fine.
He didn't say fine. He said the economy was strong as hell.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what Biden said, and it was a what the kind of moment.
I did the editing.
With kind of moment when he said it, because nobody believes this. Nobody believes this. It's not as endearing as when Bill Clinton said it. Like you actually maybe thought for a second that Bill Clinton felt your pain. He felt a lot of things.
There it is.
Not your
What? What? It was right. Fingers
like,
how
dare you take that road?
The road was predicted.
I took it.
Clutching my pearls right now after that comment.
None of this
swings
was
election,
right?
None of this is going to be get anybody to say, well, now I clearly got to vote for the Democrats in whatever state or on whatever level, because now they're showing with this that they really care about me and they're really focused on the right issues.
Well, again, you're a fan.
For trying to figure out how to pay for groceries. You're hearing all these stories about how natural gas prices are going through the roof and electricity is going through the roof. And you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay for basic necessities. And the holidays are coming up. And you're thinking about how you're going to get through the holidays, buying Christmas gifts, getting through Thanksgiving dinner, all these things. The idea that this is the issue that he's hammering today about how
airline fees are out of control and somehow they're bigoted. And by the way, American Airlines, Tony, just announced that they are eliminating first class seats on international travel. So
what do you mean?
It sounds like they're taking them out. So I don't know. I know you're a first class guy. You like to wear the suit in first class.
I fly in a suit. I am not shy about this. These people who dress in their pajamas are awful. They're terrible. They're just awful, and they're wrong. And I know you want to be comfortable. Could you have a little bit of decorum? Please show a little respect for the rest of us. But taking up the first class seats.
Is this going to be a move? Is this going to be one of these themes moving forward where they are going to make all seats in airplanes the same? Because there's this public outcry started by the White House and perpetuated through social media and activists where is it going to get so out of control in 2 or 3 years where, well, you know what, you guys are complaining about this, every seat will have no room on an airplane.
By the way, over there on Rumble, Marley says Biden will argue Santa Claus is racist. Of course Biden said it was racist. You're not wrong there. Fingers, I appreciate you taking the time. Fingers Malloy, you follow him on Twitter at Fingers Malloy and listen to him on eatdrinksmoke.com. Always appreciate you taking the time, man. Good man right there. Fingers Malloy. And we were doing some of the podcasts. We're like, hey, let's do this. And so that's why we're here. And find everything that I do, or we do for Eat Drink Smoke at eatdrinksmokeshow.com and Americans for Prosperity. The economic liberty people, the freedom of speech people, let me do the show. And I greatly appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys as well. We'll have a cigar sometime soon. I got to run. You guys, take care.